circuit covered 3 times by both the men and the women. It has all the ingredients for a mountain bike race: awkward tree routes, adverse cambers, steep climbs and steep descents, a soft surface, a hard surface, and plenty of... jersey of Caroline Alexander after a win down at Fort Widley in Portsmouth. She's the leader of the race, and in that mauve jersey of the points leader, that's Louise Robinson of Team Rally. The women going away, there is the course they face, the undulations, and as we look at this, I can tell you already before the race today, we've lost John Clay in the men's event, a British track champion, crashed on the descent and has gone to hospital with a broken wrist. And that highlights the dangers of this course. There you can see from the air, the going very soft indeed. The wheel tracks of the bike riders, and the women now make their way off into the country, and straight away, Caroline Alexander, this enormous strength of what is, if you look at her, Russ, she's a very frail looking lady, but she's got so much strength in those legs.
Yeah, Caroline is a very elegant pedaller. And also, I think today this course should suit her down to the ground.
And she keeps riding over those little hills and driving onto the short piece of road circuit before she's out into the country, being chased by Deb Morell there, the other girl who's named for the Olympic Games, and she's in second place. Back to the start now as the men await the signal. And Runa Hoydal in the pink looking down, and this is the rider number 10 who won the race at Fort Widley and is equal on time with Runa Hoydal because they sprinted out the result down there in Portsmouth. The men roll away, the yellow jersey of Beat Marble making a very good start as they sprint. The start absolutely crucial.
The start is so important here because you go straight onto the narrow roads, then onto the single tracks, and you have to be at the front, otherwise the strong men will just take off.
And that, of course, is what Beat Marble is trying to do here. Give them a real tough time as they go out onto the course. Absolutely superb course, a beautiful scenery here. And we've got Hoydal in second place. So you see you've got Hoydal already marking Warble, the 2 men who dominated the race in the end down at Fort Widley in the prologue. And Beat Warble just checking over his shoulder there to see if there is a gap at all. No gap at the moment. Hoydal comes up. And Matt Guy is there in third place. Lenny Christensen up in fourth. The British champion Barry Clark in fifth. That's the order as they go out onto the course. And here's Caroline Alexander making the most of her 3-minute start over the men. She's left all of the women behind as she comes up to the top of the first climb, and 47 seconds the lead. And a little gaggle of leaders among the men here. They're riding about 3 minutes behind Caroline Alexander, and this is Beat Warble making a great start for the yellow jersey leader of the event. Hoydal in his slipstream, slipped a gear as well there. Barry Clark with him too. And the other rider in black there was Lenny Christensen. He's lying in 5th place. He lies overall 3rd at the moment, just 4 seconds off the yellow. And so, as the men try to sort themselves out, these 3 have stolen quite a march over the rest of the field, and Warble has made a great start for the race leader.
Yeah, it's a fantastic start for the race leader as we go into Caroline Alexander taking one of the tricky corners. Remember, this course is just over 7 miles, but it's got 5 major climbs, and I really do think this is going to suit Caroline as we've got a fantastic scent here.
And this is the mountain biker's view of the course, given directly from the bicycle, and it's a bumpy old trail. And the riders who are causing the pain back in the men's race, Hoydal is now starting to go through some of the women, so they've closed that 3-minute start gap to some of them, and there's quite a little group of riders forming at the front. I didn't think we'd see such a big group at the front on this course, Russ.
No, this is a very, very technical course. It looks like some of the riders actually taking a short turn there, actually.
I'm not sure they're meant to go that side of the trees, but they're taking the line, which is perfect for them. Just a little touch of the brakes to lock up the back wheel to check them round the corners.
And here we have Jill Smith in second place, Canadian champion 93-94, and also she's just got a new cookery book out.
Tell you what, Russ, she's cooking quite well right now, because behind is Louise Robinson, and then after her comes Alison Windoss. But what has happened to Deb Morell? Now, Deb started in second place behind Caroline. She's fallen right back, and the men are now beginning to mix with all except Caroline Alexander here, because there's the yellow jersey of Beat Warble. Hoydal is ahead of him, and look at the strength of Hoydal now. We've also got dismounting there Louise Robinson in the women's event, while her equivalent in the men's event, the points leader in the men in the other pink jersey, is now running up behind Louise Robinson. She's noted too that Hoydal's on her wheel.
Yeah, all of these bikes have 21 gears. Most of the riders here are deciding to run, except look at the strength there, Barry Clark. That's what makes him a double national champion.
And I'll tell you what, Russ, the way Clark has ridden up that climb, it's taken him right up alongside the leaders there, so he's come out of the depths and up with the leaders. Now back to the leader in the women, Caroline Alexander. She's wrestling with this course and pedaling a beautifully low gear, but she just keeps on going, and she is pulling away from everybody. What a great stylist she is.
And here comes the leading group. Oh, bit of a speed wobble there by one of the leaders. Over the log jump now. Shouldn't be long before they catch Caroline Alexander.
Well, they're certainly closing in. That's Hoydal first over the logs and back on his bike. He's an ex-road racing cyclist as well, so he's an all-round skillful bike rider. This is Tim Gould, Lenny Christensen as they go over the logs, and they're not far behind. Jesper Agergaard, who is on the Danish national team, quickly back in the saddle. Everybody across the pathway and back on the bikes. Now they begin the long climb, Russ. This is a tough one.
Yeah, here's the men's leader. There's a little group of 4 there on the 3rd climb, and he's really starting to stretch him out. Even the yellow jersey looks in trouble on these tree roots.
Well, the concentration on the face of Rune Hoydal here. He won the Tour of Switzerland last year, but more importantly for him, he won 5 rounds of the World Cup and yet failed to win the World Cup itself. And that was because of a poor performance in the last couple of races. But Hoydal has 4 good riders around him now, including his teammate Lenny Christensen. As these are the riders now just concentrating on staying in the race. There's Gary Ford, quite a long way down, Gary Ford.
Yeah, I'm surprised Gary's so far back. As we see, I think that was Martin Early going through from Team Rally. This is a great shot here of one of the tricky descents.
And this is the way to go down on your mountain bike. Remember though, always wear a crash helmet when you go cycling on mountain bikes, just in case you catch one of these tricky tree routes. Even the top men, you know, can get themselves into trouble, and speaking of men, so too can the women. This is Caroline Alexander, completely rode off the course there, and she's gone on with the tape wrapped around her bicycle, but through on the inside, and there he is in the lead. Hoydal has gone through and is now ahead of everybody, including Russ, all of the women. There's Lenny Christensen chasing him through.
Yeah, and Barry Clark there in 2nd place. He's really got to start to put the hammer down now if he wants to bring Hoydal back.
But also the yellow jersey of the men, Beat Wobble, also in trouble, straight under the tapes. He just touched his brake, corrected it, didn't fall. He's come back onto the race route, but that has cost him a little bit of time. And now Hoydal has got the sort of lead he's been edging for the whole of this lap, and he's clear.
Barry Clark in 2nd place, and also 2nd in the Peaks competition as we go over the climb here. Barry's really starting to concentrate, really starting to dig deep here.
And this is Tim Gould, so this climb has done a lot of damage to some. As they come up through the trees, Jens Svedler pushing an enormous gear, just about gets over the top of the hill. Here's the 2 race leaders. Beat Wobble for the men, hasn't really recovered from that tangle with the tapes. Caroline Alexander well clear in the women, and this is Matt Guy, another rider who's making good progress. So the situation in the Peaks competition on lap 1, Rune Hoydal first over the top, he gets 10 points, Barry Clark 2nd, and his teammate Lenny Christensen, that's Hoydal's teammate by the way, he's in 3rd place. To win the stage and claim the leader's yellow jersey, but he's not overcooking it, and my goodness me, he almost did then, he just checked it nicely.
Yeah, a little too much of the back brake there, but Hoydal is an excellent descender.
Now here's that very difficult adverse camber, and Barry Clark has sailed out into the woods. The spectators here are getting used to this now. Every lap the riders have really struggled to control themselves. Very difficult bend indeed, and Christensen and Gould have gone through on Clark.
And this is Tim Gould. He's really made a great move here. He's actually in 2nd place now. He's taken advantage of Barry Clark's silly mistake.
So Gould on the Olympic reserve list is now clear, and Christensen is having to chase, and Barry Clark is having to recover, and the finish is not very far away at all. And this is a good escape by Tim Gould. It's good to see this young man coming back to the forefront of top competition.
And just look at Gould going. This is what he likes, those short little climbs. He can get that little granny ring, and the other 2 are starting to struggle, but Clark's come back from that silly mistake.
And down in amongst the trees there, and the finish approaching very rapidly now, is the pink jersey of Rune Hoydal. We're onto the Peaks climb for the very last time.
Yeah, he's just got to get over this climb. It looks like he's really concentrating. A little descent down to the finish.
Well, you know, the Beat Wobble, well, he started this day equal on time with Rune Hoydal. Look at that now, 2 minutes 32 seconds he's conceding. His yellow jersey has gone. It will pass across to the Norwegian. Henrik Jernys, 3 times a world champion, but way back in 12th place, and I think a little demoralised, not selected for the Olympic Games for Denmark. And this man having a ride of his life, Tim Gould in 2nd place now, but still almost 1.5 minutes down. And behind Gould in the trees, Christensen now having to do some work.
Yeah, Christian can afford to chase now because obviously his teammate is well ahead, 1.5 minutes. But look at Clark. Clark's come back and he's looking excellent.
Well, he looked to me as though he's grimacing a little bit there on the climb. This is Caroline Alexander, well clear of the women, almost 8 minutes ahead now of Louise Robinson. Matt Guy up to 5th.
Yeah, it's a superb ride here by Matt Guy, only 21, could be our man for the 2000 Games in Sydney.
But I tell you what, Russ, this man's thinking of the 1996 Games at Atlanta. He bunny hopped over that little berm there, and he's now lining himself up for victory. Hoydal, maximum points in the peaks competition today, won all 3 climbs, and you can't do better than that. And here is the gutsy Ellen Clifford as she goes through. Gary Ford is going to take her now, and Gary back in 9th place, so a little bit disappointing for Gary today. That was a brief glimpse of Tim Gould. He's riding in 2nd. This is the battle of 3rd and 4th, and it looks as though Barry Clark is struggling now to hold on to the wheel of Lenny Christensen, but as I speak, he's come right back up onto the Danish rider. So a good battle there. Oh, well, that's something you don't see often, and that's because mountain bikes don't make any noise.
And this is Hoydal on the final descent, about just over 2 kilometres long. We'll be looking at speeds of 55 kilometres now as he comes down to this last tricky corner. He's got the back brake on, he's got it all over the place, but round he goes.
What a brilliant bike handler this man from Norway is. He's now into the home straight, saluting the crowd. He says, "This is the one for me." He's come here, he's wiped away the shadow of Fort Widley, where he only finished 2nd. He's got the victory, and he's got it by quite a margin. Now he stops, and the clock will begin to count. And there, as we go back to the women here in the peaks competition, again maximum points for the race leader. Alexander getting all 3 climbs today. Now the race for 2nd place, and that mistake by the other 2 let in Tim Gould. He's made the most of it. He comes home a clear 2nd and also salutes the crowd. He's delighted with that performance today. Tim Gould snatches 2nd place, will also climb up the overall classification. It should be a good race now for 3rd place, and Barry Clark has slipped over Christensen. Good piece of riding, back wheel fully locked up, the leg goes out there for Christensen. He's going to have to concede to the British champion. Barry Clark takes a good 3rd place, he'll be equally pleased with that, and Christensen will have to be content with 4th. And now the arrival of the yellow jersey, Beat Warble. He's lost a lot of time today. He's going to finish 3 minutes back and only in 7th place. He hasn't liked this course at all, and remember, Warble is looking for a place on the Swiss Olympic team. Still, he's the best Swiss finisher today, and that must mean something. And alone virtually from the start, Caroline Alexander is well clear of the next woman on the course. So she'll get 2 out of 2 victories in her own competition. Deb Morell, by the way, who was 2nd early on, has dropped out of the stage today. So Caroline Alexander comes into the finish and gets a clear victory. She'll almost be able to take a shower before the 2nd woman finishes. A nice smile from the yellow jersey, and the new yellow jersey awaits her now for stage number 2. Let's have a look at the result of the women first. Caroline beating Louise Robinson by 8 minutes and 31 seconds. Alison Windoss 3rd, and Jill Smith gets 4th. Sean Roberts is 5th. And in the men, Hoydal 1 minute 27 seconds ahead of Tim Gould. Barry too steep. But the rain has just started to come down. The good news is that Debbie